So I've gotten some requests to talk about Marvel's recent Phase 3 announcement, which of course I'm more than happy to oblige. Especially since my video from 3 weeks ago has been proven to be very, very wrong. We've got a lot to cover this episode, so let's just dive right in. In release date order, we start with Captain America 3, which was originally subtitled Serpent Society. Which, if you ask me, is an awesome title, and while it probably would have been thematically different from Winter Soldier, it would have still been awesome to see Captain America fight the Serpent Society. Basically, it would be the G.I. Joe movie we'd always want. But no, Captain America 3 will indeed be called Captain America Civil War. Way to make me look like a piece of crap, Marvel. But then again, that's not to say that this movie will be 100% based on Civil War. Like I said in the previous episode, Spider-Man's a really important part in that story, and I don't think he's going to be in this movie. So chances are this Civil War will probably be based on the fallout from Age of Ultron, which, judging from the trailers, doesn't look like it's going to be a very happy ending. Now, Robert Downey Jr. is confirmed to be in this movie as Tony Stark, but so is Chadwick Boseman making his debut as the Black Panther. We'll get back to him in a minute. Next on the docket is Doctor Strange, directed by the guy who did the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. Now, what's interesting about this announcement is that a few days before it happened, basically every internet on the planet exploded with news that Benedict Cumberbatch had been cast as Doctor Strange. But the weird thing is there was no mention of that announcement at this Phase 3 event, which is interesting because they went out of their way to tell people that they had cast Black Panther already. So either they figured that everybody knows already that Benedict Cumberbatch is playing Doctor Strange and didn't even bother to mention it, or that news is wrong and they haven't finalized who's going to play him yet. Either way, pretty peculiar. Next is Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which the only real news about that movie is that its release date was moved from July 2017 to May 2017, 2 months earlier. And that's really all they said about it, just that the release date got changed. Although it's interesting to note that this is the first Marvel series besides Iron Man to not have a subtitle in its sequel name, just a number. Don't know what that means, but I thought I'd point that out. Next is Thor Ragnarok. Now, Ragnarok in Norse mythology was a giant war between all the gods of Asgard. Ragnarok was also the name of the robot clone of Thor that debuted during the comic book version of Civil War, but I highly doubt that's what this movie is going to be about. The Ragnarok battle has actually been prophesized in Thor comics for some time, and I believe it actually happened on at least 2 separate occasions. And much like how Ragnarok is a big deal in Norse mythology, the Ragnarok of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is rumored to be a big deal in that universe as well. It's rumored to have world-shattering changes, similar to how Winter Soldier completely changed the landscape of the Marvel movies after it was released. That said, in the Ragnarok of Norse mythology, everybody basically died. And while I don't think they're going to kill Thor in Thor Ragnarok, I do think somebody of importance is going to kick the bucket. Probably either Loki or Odin. And no, I don't think Odin died at the end of Thor the Dark World. Next is Black Panther, and again, Chadwick Boseman has been cast to play the title character. This is a bigger deal than I think people realize. Fans have been asking for years for a Black Panther movie, and to see Marvel actually step up and have a movie starring a hero of color is a really big step. You have to understand something about the way Hollywood works and thinks. The reason why you don't see a lot of black actors playing big superheroes in big budget movies isn't because there aren't really characters for them to play. There certainly are. It's because Hollywood has convinced itself that nobody wants to see a black actor in a big budget action movie unless it's Will Smith or Denzel Washington. They think that the general audience only wants to see white males in these roles, and that characters of color are generally regulated to secondary roles or the ensemble. So it's interesting to see Marvel finally start to break the mold here. And if this movie is successful, which I'm sure will be, it'll be nice to see more studios take the initiative and put black actors in big budget action movies. I'm going to skip over the next movie in the lineup, which is Avengers Infinity War, by the way, to talk about another movie announcement Marvel made, Captain Marvel. It's confirmed that it will be based on the Carol Danvers version of Captain Marvel, not any of the male Captain Marvels of the past. And this is good because A, Hollywood has convinced itself that nobody wants to see a big budget action movie starring a woman unless it's played by Angelina Jolie. Sound familiar? So with this, the Wonder Woman movie Warner Brothers announced a few weeks back, Frozen, Hunger Games, and a slew of other movies, it looks like Hollywood is finally starting to change in that respect. And B, Carol Danvers is easily the best Captain Marvel by far. She's the most recent, the most well-liked, and probably the simplest to understand, and I don't mean that in a bad sense. I mean simple in that her story is straightforward and to the point. As long as you forget all of her Ms. Marvel days. She's an Air Force pilot who gained superpowers from an alien race. So pretty much Green Lantern, only hopefully not as sucky as that movie. What is probably going to wind up being convoluted is Inhumans, which is scheduled to come out after Captain Marvel. Now, to be honest, I don't really know much about the Inhumans, other than that Marvel has been trying to shove them down our throats for the past year or so. My guess is, since they can't use X-Men or mutants, they have to find some other misunderstood superpower group to have in their movies. And this leads us to the grand finale, Avengers Infinity War, which will be split into 2 parts. Part 1 will come out after Black Panther in 2018, and Part 2 will come out after The Inhumans in 2019. Now, I absolutely hate it when movie studios split one book into 2 parts. It's really just a cynical attempt to get more money out of you. Let's not kid ourselves here. Yeah, I know Deathly Hallows is a big, epic book and probably needed more than one movie to be told, but you know what? A good filmmaker could have told that in one film. And need I remind you that Breaking Dawn Part 1 was mostly montage footage, and Breaking Dawn Part 2 was mostly build-up to a very anticlimactic battle. Yeah, I watched Twilight, so what? But if Marvel has taught us anything, it's that they really know how to take a comic book and make it a movie. And by splitting Infinity War into 2 parts, it makes me feel like they've figured out a way to make comic book events movies in themselves. This basically confirms that Avengers 3 is going to be based on Infinity Gauntlet. And Infinity Gauntlet was a big comic book event when it came out. So it stands to reason that by splitting it into 2 parts, Avengers 3 is going to be a big comic book style event, but in movie form. A big multi-part movie that's connected and has consequences with all the other movies in the series. And it's hopefully epic and worthwhile, unlike the events Marvel's been putting out recently. Now, I don't want to spend a lot more time talking about this because we're already running long. There's not really a lot to talk about, and we could be here forever just speculating. I do feel like this is a good place to start, though. But there is one thing I wanted to bring up that we'll have to discuss next week. This announcement comes within 2 weeks of Warner Brothers making a similar announcement with regards to their DC lineup of movies. And that announcement, while exciting, certainly wasn't met with the same amount of fanfare. But like I said, that's a topic for next week. So until then, leave a comment down below or anywhere on social media with what you think about Marvel's Phase 3 lineup. And as always, like if you like, subscribe if you really like, share this video with your friends. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. So long-time viewers may remember back in the day, whenever a holiday rolled around, I would discuss the corresponding chapter from the Batman classic, Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. After Chapter 7, I sort of stopped doing it because, well, I got bored.
I was very terrified growing up of the robot in Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, you were.
I was terrified of the robot.